Welcome back to What Would You Ask podcast. My next guest was on The Prophet. Season 3, CNBC hit show, Marcus Lemonis. You guys know what I'm talking about. You've listened to a bunch of them. Vision Quest Lighting. You know what I liked about this place when I first saw it, and I'm, going through season 3, skimming through the ones I think I might not like. I'm like, Vision Quest, what's this all about? Lighting. And I'm like, oh, yeah, how good could it be? Then you start listening to the beginning, you see some of Larry's stuff. That one was like, I think it was 5,600, but bad margins. But anyway, it was pretty dynamic. And then you hear that they do a lot of custom work and who they're working with. It was like Universal Studios and Abercrombie Fitch. And you're like, oh, hello, I think I'll hang out for this one. I'm excited to welcome Larry Lieberman to What Would You Ask podcast. How you doing, Larry?
How you doing? Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. We're glad you're here. Let's jump right in. Tell us a little bit about how the business was going. And then where did it turn where, you know what, maybe we're going to reach out to The Prophet and Marcus Lemonis.
So I think, Marcus, we were in business for about 15, 16 years when I met Marcus. So we started off as a product design company. Vision Quest Lighting was a product design company. We developed lighting products and special effects for the entertainment lighting industry. That's my background, was theater from Ithaca College is where I went to school.
All right.
So yeah, I started working off Broadway, and then I found this great ad to work in a lighting company and to manufacture lighting for stage, a company called Altman Stage Lighting. And I was there for a couple of years, and then I started just developing products. Then I started Vision Quest. And at one point, Hollister for Abercrombie & Fitch came along, and they wanted these theatrical looking lights in their stores. And it was a big account. I mean, they had 200, 300 of these lights in the store. And because they were theatrical, some guys came to me and said, hey, can you make these? And we went from product design company to manufacturing. And then Vision Quest Lighting started manufacturing custom decorative lighting, mostly for national accounts, for Ann Taylor, Abercrombie, and all their brands, a bunch of brands that aren't in business anymore, American Eagle. Most malls in America have a product that we manufacture. So I don't know about everyone else out there, but this was the first company I ever started and built. So, I think after 15 years, you build a company and mistakes are made. And I got lines of credit. I got, I restructured loans. And I think what was happening essentially was we were, my accountant would say, hey, you're losing money. And I'd say, I don't understand. We have $100,000 in the bank. How could we be losing money? But that was all borrowed money. And, my business education, I got much better at business at the end.
Yeah.
So I think that I learned a lot about the financials of business when money got tight. And at that point, you're pretty far in the hole. And that's that. So what led to Marcus was business was off. National accounts stopped expanding in 2015, or at least our biggest account did. And I tried all different kinds of stuff, but I was running in the red. And one day I had to come home and tell my wife, I don't have payroll. I'm short payroll. We've got to lend the company $20,000 to make payroll. And of course, that was very emotional. And I lent the company the money, and more cash came in, but we never took that money back. And I think in the course of the entire business, I probably had to lend the money back to the company quite often. And it was obviously a red flag. And that's when I applied for The Prophet. We were big fans of the show, and I look back on it now and say that's the secret sauce that Marcus has tapped into. He is the guy the white knight on a white horse that comes in and makes your problems go away, waves his wand. And, I think that's Marcus's charm and Marcus's angle is, and maybe also curse from a lot of interviews you might have, is that he comes in and takes advantage of you. I actually I don't see it that way. We'll get to that in a second, but I see it a little differently. So I interviewed for the Prophet. It didn't happen. I was like turned down at first, and then I found another company was going to buy into my company. It was going to purchase us, and I was supposed to meet with lawyers like the next week, and I got a phone call from production that says, "Hey, we're interested. We want to do this." And I am a person of I like new experiences. It may not have been the best business decision, probably, in retrospect, it wasn't. But I mean, the experience of being on this reality show and stuff like that, and kind of where I was in life and the stress, and I was kind of looking for something different. I wanted this experience. I thought I believed in it. I thought it would work. But that's kind of what's leading me up to what I have to say about the whole thing, is like where my head was.
Yeah.
And everybody who's been on the show, that is exactly where their head was I'm burnt out. I'm tired of fighting, and I need a strategy. I need a way out. And he was holding candy.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it, as you said, that there are other entrepreneurs who have been on the show on The Prophet and have interviewed with this show, who just see it differently, right? Marcus is a businessman and he comes in to help, and if he can't help, he'll help himself. That kind of seems like how things go. But he's also making, in all the cases, I can certainly make a case for either side if I had to. But in Marcus's side, he's trying to put a lot of money in to help you out. And when it's all done, he turns around and says, "This is how much money I put in." And that starts a whole other discussion, right? And it's one that we only see as viewers. We see a 40-minute, 42 minutes of what in most cases is over weeks and weeks, and if not months, right? Of interactions, and certainly filming's not every day during that time, but it's a lot of back and forth. So it's hard for us to glean on what is the real truth of it. And that's why we're having these interviews, is what lessons can we learn from them? And so let's take it, kind of chronologically. Marcus does show up. I assume that's the first time you meet him, because you are very excited to meet him, right? You're pumped up about it, which is cool. Tell us about that day, Larry. So give the listeners and viewers an understanding of, he's coming. The production people are there, right? We see this a lot. Some of the older reality shows, you'd be like, wait a minute, why is the camera there? Right? Like, doesn't make sense. These days, the cameras are there. They're all set up. They're letting you know he's coming. You don't know exactly when he's coming. Then he walks in, right? Tell us about is he there for the day? Are the things we're seeing when he goes through the inventory and meets with your staff? Is that all happening the same day? Is that 2 days later? I know it's a while ago and you might not remember details, which is just an understanding of how much time do you spend with him?
Yeah. So my understanding too is that my episode was very different than other episodes.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So in fact, I've heard this from fans too, that we didn't have huge drama in our thing.
No, you didn't. That's true.
I was a business that was struggling, and there wasn't anything under, in the closet, and the stuff that you did see that was in the closet wasn't really there. It had to do with editing, like, for example, the loan that I borrowed against our home. Okay. I did not borrow against our home. My wife and I were offered a loan to borrow against our home, and I turned it down. But when Marcus said that, because she assumed I borrowed against my loan, she thought I was talking about that loan. And what they cut out is right when I say, no, we didn't take that loan. And then I correct Marcus and go, I never used the home for collateral. So, but you don't see that. And I get that. I mean, I get what they're going. My wife's not thrilled, but I do get what they're going for. You know, and she did not know about the 100,000 that my father left me. So,
Right.
so, you know, there was some truth there.
Mhm.
Another little drama thing that they played was we were going to be late on delivery. You know, do you think I'm going to be late on delivery on TV?
Is
I'm
this
like, no way.
are we talking about the Gotham thing?
The
Or the,
Gotham thing.
I
Yeah.
was going to say that. That was one of the questions. I was going to say, all that you do, I know you were in business for years. This is the light for the hospital is the one we're going to, look.
Be late on, right?
Yeah, I just can't
Yeah.
be.
No, what happened during, so to get back to your original question,
Yeah.
the first day is the first time I saw him. That was the first time I met Marcus. And I like Marcus. Even through all of this stuff, you know, I think some people might have some really bad things to say about him. Maybe he makes just some, I'll call them just human choices.
Mhm.
But I like him. He has a way of seeing into you, you know, and he has a really good sense of I mean, he does have a good sense of business. I mean, if Marcus came into my business and I had him 100% of the time, I'd still be in business.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of partly the biggest disappointment about the whole thing, which I'll get back into, is like what I was expecting. Actually, I could just tell you what I was expecting was, you know, he comes in, we do this evaluation. So the evaluation shot and the shot in the shop and I think it was 350,000 or 325 was the deal.
375 for 50%.
Right, 375. They don't really tell you all of the details about how all of that really works, you know. So the check is not real. I'm sure you've heard that before.
Yep.
It's really a promise to invest into the business, but you really have to, you know, show that you need it. So again, I kind of got lucky because we do all of this shooting. The thing with my wife wasn't that day. All of that stuff wasn't that day. This is in like August, and then they disappear. And there's most people say there's nothing for weeks. They can't get a hold of anyone. No one calls. Nothing. In my case, I kind of got lucky. Marcus had one CFO, I guess I'd call him, who happened to be coming on Long Island to meet with another client. So he actually came the next day. And then that was my first look behind the curtain. Like, okay, so there is no big marketing company that's going to help you. Like I thought Camping World had, you know, where it was somehow involved and they were going to, you know, I was going to be able to help use their, you know, I thought a business plan was going to come out of this.
Right.
I thought we were going to look at, you know, the first thing to do is let's put a 5-year business plan together. Let's look at what would make sense to invest. You know, I thought there was a team of people. There was no team. And that's the biggest disappointment, I think everyone might say. I happened to also hit in third season was, I think Marcus was trying to change that, to his credit. He brought in a consulting guy, full-time guy who I really loved. His name was Dan. And Dan was trying to support all the manufacturing guys. So it was like me, the drum guy, Precise Graphics. And we were also at, you know, there were a couple of people in the program, I call it a program, that were kind of on the inner circle. Like the idea was that we were supposed to support more of the partners.
Got it.
And he was very interested. And you know, so what happened over the next 6 months, it was only supposed to be 3 days of film. Wow. Over the next 6 months, I probably, you know, I flew to Chicago with him. We did the candy shop. We did the hospital thing. I mean, I probably saw him about 5 or 6 times, you know, where we did this on TV, you know, dance. And during this time, we did get that investment. He did put up that money, and then he followed through. I mean, he put up literally, I think, you know, I'm not in the $800,000 range of
Wow.
cash. That was his cash. He put it up. And
So $500,000 was in the machinery, right? You had all of that fab tech machinery did that go through that? I mean,
no, they said, so that, that's where sort of, the disappointment was, and the not understanding really what we were doing. And that's actually one of my biggest advice to anybody out there is the fact is that you all know your businesses better than anyone who comes in to your business.
Right.
Unless they're doing it. Like Marcus is very good at retail. He's very good at Camping World type of sales channels. That's what he's done. He's very good at auto. That's where he made his business. Would I call him a manufacturer? No way. No. And it was apparent when we installed this laser equipment that is leased, by the way, and now we had an extra $10,000 of overhead that I did not have before he came. The day it was like installed, he's like, well, why do you need more money? And I'm like, we haven't designed anything for the equipment. We concentrated on the wrong thing. We should have been concentrating on sales. I think, I think we were manufacturing pretty good, but we should have concentrated on sales. And that's, I know that because that's what I do now is sales. I don't do the manufacturing part anymore. And, I'm doing pretty good. So I wish, what we should have done is put Janelle in charge of the place. And I should have just concentrated on sales.
Interesting.
And and I feel bad too. I like I said, I like Marcus. I think that he really does have he's not out there to do something bad. I don't think he's out there to burn people. I do think he wants to help. And I think there's some people that he has helped. But at the same time, I think his help rate would have been better if he actually had some structure inside to, because Dan didn't last, and to my knowledge, it's still just it's just Marcus and the production crew. There's no real business team behind them.
Yeah, that's interesting. He gets his when he does come out, he does a quick kind of due diligence through the whole organization. He talks to everybody. It seems like he would spend an inordinate amount of time there. Is that the case on shooting days? I mean, is he going around meeting with all the employees and spending hours at your place, or is he in and out? Are these quick,
I think it's a little bit of an in and out. I mean, those things that the conversations I remember on TV were real, they were real conversations. The thing about the product being late, he wasn't there that day, so they came back to try to fill in. There's a segment producer who's trying to thread together an interesting show. And
but they even have the guy from Gotham saying, well, there's one thing I was upset about, like in a meeting, he was like, it was a day late or something and I had to move. It didn't even make sense why he was upset.
Because he really wasn't upset.
Right. You could just tell that. He was like, it's just one thing that, he didn't have a real answer. It wasn't like I had a customer waiting on Monday and I got it Tuesday. That's not what he said. He said, I thought I was going to get it Monday. I got it Tuesday. And what was the impact on that? He didn't say. So I don't know. It seemed a little weird.
No, so actually the best thing that came out of this entire experience were some of the friends I made. So, Dean at Precise Graphics.
He's going to be on the show Monday.
Well, we just talked. Maybe because I convinced him. I said,
good. I hope.
The Dean is still a close friend of mine. I do love Dean. I'm friendly with his brother. I don't talk to Keith much, but I would certainly call him. A lot of those people I met. But one of my closest friends is Brian from Gotham Lighting, and Brian and Todd, who are Gotham Lighting, they're also the investors in Standard Burger.
Oh, no kidding.
So a little background on this is that the way my episode came about was, Marcus liked Todd and Brian and met them through Standard Burger. And Todd, I don't know if you have Todd on, but if you have the other fellow's name, Sammy, you're gonna have Sammy on. You should also have Todd on. Todd and Brian owned a lighting company, and they provided the lights for Standard Burger. And Marcus was on set and said to them, "Hey, I have a guy in Long Island right here who applied, and he's a lighting company. He's like, I'll do the episode if you're involved." And that's when Brian got involved, who is Todd's brother. And they, so that was how it was done. And Todd,
did you meet Brad from Overture Acoustics? Have you ever met? Okay,
no,
I didn't know if he was.
No.
You met the SJC or whatever it is, the drummer guys, though, right?
I never met those guys. I was aware of them through Dan, because we were both companies were trying to create quoting models. Precise, the drum company, and us were trying to create these quoting models to put product into buckets and stuff. And I'll tell you another thing about these guys and Marcus's effort after. So the show ends. And Marcus did not abandon me. I mean, I was in touch with his CFO pretty regularly, and Dan was making trips. And when things weren't really turning around, I mean, one of the, some of the people Marcus, they ended up putting in place didn't work out. And when things weren't turning around, Marcus had a whole bunch of people come, and we all sat in the boardroom to try to figure it out. So I had the furniture, Grafton. Steve came, Keith came, Brian came, Todd came, and Dan and the CFO Tom came. Marcus was there too. Actually, Marcus was there for that meeting too. And that was not on camera. And that was really Marcus's effort to try to turn things around.
That's awesome.
I think the other thing too was and it was my fault. No one put a gun to my head and said, "Hey, you had to buy this machinery, or you had to buy this machinery and do this stuff." I kind of thought he understood that this was an investment, and shame on him. He should have insisted he had more experience there to say, we should be looking at a 5-year business plan. I mean, Dan was kind of raising his hand going, this investment's going to take too long to pay back.
Right.
And, and I think that's where the difference of manufacturing knowledge and
retail.
Retail knowledge was. And, I do look back on the whole thing. Ultimately, Vision Quest closed. We declared bankruptcy.
How long was that after the show?
So, 2017 in July, I had to file. And at that point, Marcus was already out of the business for probably 6 to 8 months or something. And he basically, gave it back. And, listen, we were in big trouble. We were in big trouble, and there were some financial decisions made while they were running the show that was not good. Like they probably should have paid the rent. We didn't pay the rent. And those hard decisions about turning around the company weren't made. And I think they, his whole organization really benefit from turnaround people, from people who say we really shouldn't increase the nut from I was at $85,000 a month to we went to $130,000 a month.
Jeez.
So that's kind of the ugly truth, but he tried. I mean, he did try. So I won't fault him for that. He certainly lost a fair amount of money trying.
So let me ask you a couple of things that the viewers of the show, The Prophet, saw and heard, and some of the questions that they had regarding it. First thing was just a reflection from some of the other interviews that I do. When he says, and everybody knows the check's not real and it's not cashable and all that stuff, but he does say $375,000 for 50%. And then he goes right into a little bit of a monologue of where they plan on spending that money. And I want to ask you if this is where the money ended up, or
Okay.
was it just all of the equipment? He said it was definitely to hire staff, because there was a time that, he complimented you in his, kind of confessional that you guys do, to go with the video. He says that, obviously you were making cuts. He was talking to one of your employees, who's the GM. Well, kind of, I was me, or it's not one now, it's vacant. That guy's no longer here. You say that we really couldn't afford to have the guy here. And Marcus was saying, look, Larry's making the cuts because they have to. He's trying to save his business here. So
Yeah.
So he mentions that part of this $375,000 is going to go to hire back, key staff members. The other thing was pay down some of the debt, right? And then
Right.
the last thing was to have some working capital in the business. That doesn't sound like a 5-year business plan, but it sounds like an immediate business plan.
Right.
Does that have any traction, or is that just, did you hire people? Did you
Yeah.
pay down some of the debt? Did you do some of those things? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, in our case, we had to pay down some of our debt because we had vendors turning us off, the key vendors. So a fair amount of money went to paying down debt. They hired a CFO, who I, felt was a bad hire because, we paid down some of our debt. We didn't pay down all of our debt. I know now the way to do that is to manage it and to negotiate it and to work stuff out with your suppliers. But this CFO kind of said, "Hey, we need another $300,000 over Christmas yet."
Yeah.
that did not go over well with Marcus, and then I think that's when things got panicked, and and this was after filming.
Yeah.
So we hired a high paid CFO person. We hired
Bob,
the
production manager, or was that a real hire?
Oh my God, I am going blank. Carlos.
Oh,
No, Bob. Oh, that's right. Bob was there. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Bob, was he hired as a result? I think he was. You're right. I think we hired him as a result. That didn't work out.
Yeah. Let me ask you about something you said to Marcus.
That's right,
and I think this is as candid as I've had any entrepreneur be. You said, look, I do this for my family, and I think we're going out of business. I don't know what to do. People here believe in me, and maybe more than they should. That was one of the most, if that's not from the heart, I don't know what is. And it's really, it's telling everyone, viewers, Marcus, this is the real deal, right? Yeah. I thought that was, most people are going to kind of shy away from having to say that. You were just as candid as can be. Tell us about what that conversation was like with Marcus, if you remember. I know it was a while ago, but
yeah, Nick, there's people have personalities, and you can't, I'm one of those people that kind of wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm not going to have a conversation with you with all sorts of like, what can I get out of Nick today? I'm going to tell you how it is. But I also think that's why, and I look back on it now because I've had a very bad experience with another company. I look back on it now. In fact, Tori from Vision Quest just mentioned this to me in this view. He says that we followed you. You had people around you who followed you because they trusted you, and I had really good people. I had the best people. It's the worst part about the whole company going away. I miss them. I miss those people. But people would follow me, just like I probably said there, and then I'm trying to figure out, how do I turn this company around? They're following me, they're looking to me. I mean, literally, I had people going, "I trust you, I believe in you, I think you can pull us out of bankruptcy," because we actually operated for 6 months out of bankruptcy.
Wow.
And it was really, I look back on it now, and it's nice. It's nice to have that. And I think Marcus recognized that I was a straight shooter and I wasn't doing any of those, crazy schemes that I see on some of the other shows. After, as a postscript, after Vision Quest went bust, I got involved with another company who I really thought was going to be just fantastic. And he also had a following of people. But then he did some, bad stuff and didn't pay them and missed payrolls. And I never missed a payroll. I mean, people got paid before I did. And the 1 week when we went bankrupt, the banks locked up your account for like 2 weeks. And I was afraid to talk to people. I'm like, I have the money, it'll be there and you can get paid, but I need you to work for 2 weeks. And they all stayed. They all worked.
Amazing.
And then they all got that money that they were entitled to. But where I went, I mean, I'd still be in business if I was that guy,
Jeez.
and I'm just not going to be that guy. I don't want to, people like, oh, you don't know how to run a business. You know what? I don't want to run a business like that.
Yeah.
I don't want to run a business like that. Like I wish I, I mean, again, it was my first multi-million-dollar company I ran.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you make mistakes, and the best thing for me was to do a bankruptcy to get to basically button it up. And but the one thing that everyone out there should know is that what bankruptcy or business ending can't take away from you is your relationships. And almost everybody I dealt with at Vision Quest, I still sell to.
That's
I still
awesome.
work with.
I often say success leaves clues, as does failure, and you should learn from both of them, right? And
Yeah,
I think
saying.
you've done that.
Okay.
Couple last questions about the show and Marcus, and then we'll move on to what's going on with Larry today. I appreciate your time.
Pleasure.
Tell us the last time that you talked to Marcus in any meaningful way about this and what that was like. And then the secondary question to that is, Larry, just summarize your experience. It sounds like, there's some people that say, I wish I didn't get involved in Marcus because literally it ended my business. That doesn't sound like what you're saying. You seem to put most of the responsibility on your own shoulders. And there were always questionable things. The guy kind of parachutes into your business. He's not going to know as much as you know. You've defended that by saying, I'm the one that should know most about my business, including my employees over Marcus, right? So he's only trying to do the best he can. I don't want to speak for you, but tell us a little bit about the last time you spoke to him and then summarize your experience with him.
So him and I have exchanged a couple of texts over the years. I think our last meaningful conversation, or real conversation, really had to do with ownership of the business, because there was paperwork, which a lot of businesses don't have with him. But when we had to lease the equipment, I had to actually issue out shares and stuff to him. And the bankruptcy, would have put him on the hook. And I was like, I'm not going to buy this out. And so it was kind of just a business conversation.
Got it.
There's been a couple of, in fact, I think the last time I texted with him, I can't remember. Oh, I know what it was. Inc. magazine, or a magazine called me about doing an interview. And I kind of got the sense it was going to be a negative piece. And I texted him. I'm like, do you want me to do this? I'm like, you okay with me doing this? I don't know how they're going to spin it. And he didn't care. He was fine with it.
They killed him on that interview, by the way. If you've seen
not.
No, the Inc.
Oh, they did. Yes, but I didn't. Yes.
No. They crushed him on that.
Yes.
They started the first, I read it on my phone. So it's probably felt like 2 feet of text, but it was all complimentary. And then the last 2 feet were just, it was basically saying he's robbing people's businesses, which I was surprised that they went that far.
Yeah. So that was basically the last thing I've dealt with. But to tell you the truth, I mean, I don't think I've ever done him wrong. I think, my feeling about the whole experience, if that's what you want to go to next.
That is it, please.
Is he is selling a dream when businesses, in fact, I just heard it from my daughter's dance teacher, is that she's burnt out, she's tired of trying to stay afloat, especially in these times, in COVID times.
Yep.
A lot of people are feeling that, and it is a physical pressure on you. It is emotionally draining. It is tiring. It is very, very difficult. And it isn't something you could really share with your employees but it's really hard. And then when someone is out there going, I'm going to wave my wand and you're going to sleep well. And I did. I slept well for a while. I slept well for almost 3 weeks. But, and I think for one thing, the people who do the show, that is what they're hoping. They're saying, I'm missing something. I shouldn't be going out of business. What am I missing? And they think he's got the answer. And he professes to have that answer. Then the people who watch it, and I've gotten this experience too, they do learn from the show.
They do.
Because they do. And I've had fans of Marcus, still fans of Marcus, who say, I learned this and I started to do this in my business. So that is great. I mean, that is good. And, it's kind of like a podcast, he those who can't do teach, and I think Marcus has a lot of good insight. I mean, he's able to look at your books and tell you in 2 minutes, and I think relatively accurately, yeah, you're in trouble, or you're not in trouble, or we can do this and that. So, I mean, like I said, I think Marcus himself is pretty brilliant when it comes to business, and I just wish I was able to bottle that up.
So tell everybody what you're doing. Go ahead. Sorry.
And by the way, I wouldn't do it differently. I would have done the show. I think a lot of good has come from it, and I don't blame him for the business going bankrupt. I do blame myself. I think I'm a big boy, and I made decisions long before Marcus that we weren't able to overcome. And I appreciate him giving me a shot at trying to make it work again, but he also didn't have the answer. So,
Tell everybody what you're up to today.
Nothing. Nothing. I think these glasses are great, and I'm going to sell 100
put your
million
glasses
of these.
back on. There you go.
This is how I'm going to get through COVID. Okay, this solves everything. You can't see anything, so no problem. No. I currently I started this company called The Lighting Dude, and The Lighting Dude is I'm a consultant. I consult to lighting companies. I find good technology and try to put them with manufacturer reps. So I have neon and other types of products. I've sold I actually sold another lighting company, or I brokered a deal. So I'm kind of a lighting expert. My full-time gig, though, is I'm vice president of sales for a company called Custom Contract Lighting. And you could also see that on my LinkedIn and website. So Custom Contract Lighting is custom lighting, exclusive custom lighting. We do lighting for national accounts. A lot of stuff I did for Vision Quest.
Right up your alley. Yeah.
Yeah, and custom lighting is out of a factory up in upstate New York in Utica, and that company was around since 1974, and I started the new division called Custom Contract for them. Yeah, well, that's what I do.
Well, listen, I really appreciate your time. I appreciate you sharing the journey. One of the things that people didn't know, and I didn't know either going into this, but you had this business for 15 years, and people that have businesses that are 50, I mean, you had 15 years when Marcus came on, and probably ended up 17, 20. 18 years, 20 years. There you go. Yeah. That's a dream for most entrepreneurs, just to even get half of that, right? I mean, if you can do that. One of the things that came crystal clear, and I watched one of the probably 7 or 8 times I watched it. I watched it with my wife, and she said this. She said, no matter what, give or take, this guy's authentic, and couldn't have been more spot on. With her assessment of that, because with the bruises and the success and all of the things that are going with the business, you are who you are, and you weren't hiding any of that. And you also mentioned early on in this interview that there wasn't any drama. You had no family drama. You had no problems with your kids, no problems with your wife. There was none of that. And it was just the business run by an entrepreneur, and it's the everyday things you risk, decisions you make, right or wrong. And that's just where you end up. Nobody's perfect in this thing, right? So I really appreciate you sharing that. A lot of lessons learned today. And so thanks for the time.
Yeah. My pleasure, Nick. I appreciate it. I like the concept of the show and stuff. And, I enjoy being able to let people know how I felt about the whole experience.
Good.
So,
thanks.
Thank you very much.
We'll be back with more What Would You Ask podcast in a second.